Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name's Adrian Talks Life. My previous video sometimes spoke about a broken system in the UK, namely the CMS, Child Maintenance Service. This is another experience which I feel the system is totally broken, just even more so. It's dreadful. And I wanted to chat about it because I'm sure that I know there's lots of other people in this situation are going through it, have been through it, maybe new to it and it's just starting. And if I can give some help, some advice, some tips, and that helps that even one person, that's all I want to do here. Just to chat about my experience, what happened to me, so that you're prepared, gives you a bit more strength getting through these things. So this is about the family court system and the fact that I believe, and a lot of other people believe, that the family court system and certain solicitors are promoting false allegations. So basically, I split up from my ex-wife and I would have been happy to do mediation to sort the problems out, sort the issues, both financial and children access. Wouldn't have been a problem for me to sit down and see what arrangements we could come to. But she instructed the solicitor, and the solicitor's correspondence started arriving, and there was forms, etc. And on one of the forms it stated that there would be no mediation because my ex-wife was exempt from mediation. And there was a box, a big paragraph they were supposed to fill in to explain why she was exempt from mediation. Every time this correspondence came in different court documents, solicitors' correspondence, this box was left blank. And I emailed her solicitors and asked, to what reason would she not, why was she exempt from mediation? And every request I asked was ignored and I never got a response. So anyway, things progress now and I get a court date for the first hearing, and I go to court, and I didn't know what was going on. It's my first time in court, and I was directed to a waiting room once I arrived by the security guard and told to wait there until I was called. So you can picture this now. I'm called to the court, and off I go to the court, and I go in, and there's the judge, just the judge on his own, sitting up on the top on the seats there. And the courtroom is split into two with massive, I'd say there were 8-foot high screens right down the middle of the courtroom. And I was instructed by the judge where to sit on this side here, on the far side, choose a table and chairs and sit down on that side. And then over the loudspeaker they called in my ex-wife and her legal team, her solicitor, her barristers, etc. And proceedings commenced. Now during the proceedings, I was sitting there, by the way, flabbergasted. What were these screens for? With her and her legal team the other side and me one side, and the judge could see both of us from where he was sitting. And it came out in proceedings that because of allegations of domestic violence in the relationship, hence why the screens were there, and the alleger, the person who had alleged domestic violence, i.e. my ex-wife, had to be protected. So I was just taken aback. I thought, what on earth is this all about? This is absolutely ridiculous. Couldn't understand how, what it was all about. Anyway, after the court case, I came out so deflated and so confused and didn't know what was going on. So I did some research and I realised, and I found out from other sources, that my ex-wife tried to apply for legal aid, and she couldn't get legal aid based on a lower salary, as you used to be able to do. There had to be a reason, and one of the reasons, if you allege domestic violence, you will be awarded legal aid. And I thought, this can't be right. Where's the evidence? There's no evidence. There can't be any evidence. So I looked into it more and found out that you do need evidence to allege domestic violence. But you know what evidence you need? Anybody can go to your doctor, your GP, allege domestic violence, that you've been in a relationship with domestic violence and you've been hurt or attacked or hit or whatever. And part of his procedure is he has to, of course, type that into his notes on the screen. So that's added to my ex-wife's medical notes that she's experienced, and she came on this date. Now, whether or not the doctor asked what dates these domestic violence supposedly happened, I do not know, but I suppose you could give any dates. No, who knows? Nobody knows anyway. So these notes were added to her medical about this domestic violence, and then she requests that from the doctor afterwards, and that's sent to the solicitors. They submit it to the legal aid board or whatever they're called, and she gets legal aid based on that. Now, to me, I don't understand that, because that opens up to so much abuse of the system. Where's the protection for people that anybody can go and allege this domestic violence just to get legal aid without any evidence, without any concrete evidence? So I thought, well, next time I go to court, it'll be fine, because I'll announce this to the judge. I'll put it in my statement that this is totally false and it needs to be withdrawn because there's no evidence. And that's not the case. You can't actually do that. I didn't realise. I just thought, well, it'll come out in court. It doesn't. Once it's been lodged and she's been granted legal aid, that's it. That court case, there's legal aid right through, and legal aid probably for the family court as well, for the children access. And I had to go to court with these screens up all the time. And not only the screens up, the screens were bad enough, but every time I arrived at court, and it was quite a few times because it wasn't just the family court for finances, it was the family court for child access. So there was a number of hearings and procedures to go through, and every time I went to court the screens were up and I had to be separated from my ex-wife. And it's not only the screens. People don't realise what they're doing to you when they make these false allegations. Every time I arrived at court, you have to check in with security at the front entrance, and on their document it states that you've been alleged domestic violence, so they know that you're a domestic violence case. You are then escorted to your own waiting room, because you can't sit in the general waiting room in case you bump into your wife, because you're a violent person. So you're escorted to this room. Now this room was about 6 foot by 6 foot, no windows, one chair and one table, and you're put in that room and you're not allowed to leave that room until you're called for your court case. Now don't forget, I'm there an hour early, as you should be. You're instructed to be there an hour early. They were running late, so it was 1 3/4 hours I was sat in that room with no window, no air coming in, waiting to be called to the court. You are, of course, allowed to use the bathroom, but if you want to use the bathroom, you have to go to the security guard and request, because you need to be escorted, because you might bump into your ex-wife. Shock horror. So and then when I went to the kids court, the children's court for access, this was in a different court building, and they had separate courts, and some of the courts were around the back of the building, round through the car park, through the grounds to get to this other court. I had to be escorted by a security guard through these grounds, through the public, the people. What did they think when they were looking at me? What did the security guard think? Oh, I've got another violent case here, he needs to be escorted. And then after the court case, I had to be escorted back to my prison cell of a waiting room and wait for the judge to be called again. So it's demoralising. I can't tell you, it's just horrendous, because of the breakdown of the marriage and other things that had occurred. I was suffering from my mental health quite badly, and this just put me back. I was improving before this happened. I was actually getting somewhere, and this put me so far back. I just couldn't cope with it. It was just horrendous to be accused of this, something that you hadn't done. And I looked into this further, and I thought, what's going on here? So anyway, I went on the internet, did some research, and 2013 this came in. So the government, to save money, reduced the court fees for court assistance, legal aid, for people on low income. And they said if you're on low income and you qualify for legal aid, you can only qualify for it if there's an occurrence of domestic violence. If there's alleged domestic violence and you've got some proof from your doctor, you can get legal aid. So what happened 2 years after this, they brought this in, they did a survey. They wanted to see, had the cases of false allegations, the allegations of domestic violence, had they increased? And they checked different regions throughout the UK, and in the West Midlands area alone, in 2 years, cases of alleged domestic abuse have gone up 92%. Now, what does that tell you? These people, men, women, whoever they are, who jump on this, think, I can get my legal fees paid, I've just got to say he hit me or she hit me. It's disgraceful that they can get away with that. And the taxpayer's paying for this. My ex-wife's legal fees in the end, they were over 10,000. I think they could have been 12,000, £13,000, and they were paid by the taxpayer because of this false allegation of domestic violence. My other point is, what about, did these people not think what damage they're doing to the system, to the genuine cases of domestic violence? Domestic violence is horrific for anybody to go through. It's just awful. How do these people who do these false allegations think this is going to affect the genuine cases, the ones that do honestly qualify for the legal aid to help them in the courts, because they're genuine victims of domestic violence, not these false allegations made up? So I don't know what can be done, because you don't want to cut out the genuine cases. You want to help those people. You want funding to be available for them just for the genuine cases. I think the only thing, or why this hasn't been done or implemented or suggested, or there's been, a report looked into this, I do not know, because the government knows it's going on, the judges know it's going on, the security guards in the courts know it's going on. They just think, oh, another one. They don't know if it's genuine or not. But of course, they have to protect the system, protect the victim in case it's genuine. I understand that with the screens and the separate waiting rooms, because it could be a genuine case. But I think the only thing that could be done is to increase the evidence that's required. I think you should need concrete evidence. This thing of going to your doctor and alleging, and that's enough. Alleging is false allegations, and then it's typed into your notes, and then that's proof. How can that be proof? Somebody going to the doctor and alleging these allegations. It just can't be. So I think there should be maybe a minimum of 2 concrete evidence. When I say concrete evidence, I mean maybe visits to A&E, maybe an ambulance was called to the house, maybe the police came because of a domestic dispute, maybe the victim had bruises or scratches or something that could be photographed. So two cases of evidence, which is concrete evidence of disruption, marital disputes, domestic violence, whatever, abuse, so that there's concrete evidence, not just walking into your doctors and declaring it. And then I think the cases would come down, and the fees would be also for true victims, genuine victims. And I was under the false, whatever the word is, false in beliefs, actually, that I'd be able to stand up in court and prove my innocence, and it would go away, because it's down to the abuser to prove, the alleged abuser to prove. They have to prove the allegations, but nothing happens, because my ex-wife didn't use this so-called domestic violence to stop me seeing the children. Then nothing happens. It's just on your system, it's on your notes, and for both court cases, the financials and the children access, it's there. You've got the separate screens, you've got your prison cell waiting room, you've got you escorted by the security guards. So there's no opportunity to stand up in court and say this is a lie, this is not true, there's no evidence. She's just alleged this falsely via the doctors. The only time you get a chance to prove your innocence would be if your ex went down the road of trying to stop you to see the children because of domestic violence. Now, she claimed that, and her barrister and her solicitor backed that up. The judge then has to order a report, a special report, to look into this domestic violence, and then they look for more evidence, and then it's down to the ex, the alleged abuser, to prove. It's not down to you to defend yourself, apparently. It's down to the abuser to prove that this happened. Now, we didn't go down that road. Of course we didn't, because my ex-wife must have known that she would have to try and find more evidence, and there'd be reports done into it. So there was no suggestion that I would be stopped to see the children because of this false allegations. So hence, you don't get a chance to say your piece, stand up in court. It was particularly difficult for me because I'd been trying to get on with the ex-wife, because we have 2 children, and that's what you do. I'd been to her new house she's renting with her new children, with a new house with our children, where she had a maintenance issue, she had a water leak. She called me, I went and fixed it for her because she couldn't get a plumber. I gave her advice, I loaned her tools to put shelves up in her house, how to drill a wall, how to fit roll plugs. I had put air in the tyres from a slow puncher because the next day she was going on holiday with the kids to make sure they're safe. That's what you do. You're a dad. It doesn't matter what's happened between me and the ex. You're a dad. You look after those kids, make sure they've got a secure home. Any maintenance issues, I was there. We'd also been going out for the odd meal a couple of times for the kids' birthdays. So we got together, the 4 of us, went to restaurants for meals to celebrate the boys' birthdays and to show the boys that mum and dad, we're not together, but we can get on. For their peace of mind. And it worked, they were delighted that mum and dad had got together for their birthday meals. But that's why it's even more frustrating that these allegations were made when I'd done my utmost to agree to be good in front of the children and to get on. So it's really frustrating. If you're in this, girls, and you've been false allegations, you've just got to get on with it. That's all I can say. I haven't got any secret tips that you can get out of this. You've got to go along with it. Hold your head up high. Know that you haven't done it if it's false allegations, and go through the system, play the system. You've got to turn up with those screens up. You've got to be escorted to the courtroom and back, and you've got your own waiting room. You've just got to do it, even though you're holding your head up high. It's false allegations. grit your teeth, get on with it one day at a time. And the thing is, this won't last forever. Mine's over with now. You know, the financials are done, the child access arrangement is in place. So there's no more going back to court. It's done. It's taken a while. There's been a lot of court hearings. I've been through some very rough times, but you will get there. One day at a time. Stay strong. My name's Adrian, by the way. Adrian Talks Life. If you've got any help from this video, any tips that have helped you, hit the subscribe button. Until the next one. Thank you.